The views and opinions expressed in this program are those of the participants and do not necessarily reflect the views and positions of the agency.
Welcome to the DYCD Next Gen podcast. I'm your host, Ryan Cooks. Our monthly podcast will feature the very latest on everything DYCD has to offer, and we will go right to the heart of the story, speaking to young people about the issues they face in their daily lives. For our premiere episode, there is no more fitting guest than our very own Commissioner, Keith Howard. Commissioner, welcome to DYCD Next Gen. How are you?
Listen, thank you. I'm the first guest, right?
Yes, yes, you are.
That's great. That's great. This has been a work in progress to get this up to this point, so I'm excited about being here.
Glad to hear it. We also have some interns in the room right now, so if y'all would like to make a quick introduction, feel free to do so.
Hi, I'm Doris.
Hi, I'm Jaylyn.
I'm also Jaylyn.
Thank you guys for that, and let's continue on. So before we talk more about the inspiration for this podcast, let's start with the basics. For those listening who may not be familiar with DYCD, how would you describe the agency and the work that we do?
So the agency, by its pure numbers, is considered a small city agency, but our reach is very extensive. We have programs in every aspect: after-school programs, workforce programs, anti-poverty programs, intergenerational programs. We deal with all aspects of a youth-driven workforce development arena, and we are the largest youth agency in the country. Summer youth employment, we have 100,000 young people that we do for 6 weeks programs in the summer. Summer camp with our Summer Rising program, 110,000 young people. After school program, we have about 213,000 in our after school program. So yeah, we're small, but we're very mighty.
That's amazing. Could you speak a little bit more about the after school program?
Sure. So we have an amazing network of providers. And we fund those providers to go into our schools, to go into our community centers that's connected to our NYCHA development and run programs. And the programs can range from an arts program to a music program to sports leagues. You say it, we name it, we fund it. Okay, anything that can attract the community, and any type of community programming that we think that can uplift the community out of poverty or any other issues that the community is dealing with.
Could you also speak a little bit about the fatherhood program?
Another excellent program was run by our community development division. The fatherhood program is a program that really deals with the issues surrounding non-custodial dads. And what we do is we provide services, legal services, counseling services, ability to mitigate between non-custodial dads and custodial moms. We would like to introduce, and it will be shortly, mental health services as well. Having a dad at home and involved in a young person's life, we have all sorts of data that shows that a young person is successful, a family is successful, if it's come from a two-family household, or if not, where a father is engaged in the young person's life.
There was a fatherhood event where dads took their kids to school. It was like a whole march and everything.
It's an annual event that our Fatherhood Initiative put on. This year we had it in Staten Island, where dads showed up at one of our community centers, and we had a couple of programs there. We fed the dads. We also fed the kids. We had conversations around what it means to be a dad, to show up and be involved in a young person's space, and the dads and the young person literally marched across the street into their school, and the dads were able to convene and just have conversations around fatherhood.
That's great. I feel like that's like very much needed.
Oh, absolutely.
It's very much needed.
It's the best job in the world. Talking from a person who was a single dad, and I have 2 kids, and they are the core of my life. And being a single father, I know the challenges that came along with it. So it's personal to me, and not only is it personal to me, but I want to make sure that I have a voice to be able to give those dads the resources, and just deal with some of the problems that the dads had. My problem was that I didn't know how to braid a hair. I couldn't braid my daughter's hair for the likes of me. I tried. They tried to teach me. So every weekend I would have to bring my daughter over to my sister's house so that she wouldn't look torn up going to school, And I think that in these next iteration of programs in the fatherhood, we've set aside stipends so the dad can take their daughter to a hair salon.
Wow, really?
And get their
pretty cool.
daughter's hair done. And we're also going to connect with a teaching school so that dads can learn how to do their daughter's hair. Boys are easy. You just take them to the barber shop and
exactly
get
right.
a cut.
It's like right there and everything.
That's it. They're right there. And it is, for boys, it's a good thing because it's a bonding also in the barber shop. For daughters, it's different. It's a different thing.
Yeah, that's really special. I
Yeah,
feel like, a lot of fathers like struggle with that and everything.
I know I struggled with it. I mean, all I was able to do was a bun.
Just a bun?
Just a bun, and it would be crooked. Okay? So, yeah, I struggled with it.
That's great. That's great. There's also one more program that I would like you to speak a little bit more about, and that is the SNL, or the Saturday Night Lights program. Could you talk about the importance of it and like what it is?
So Saturday Night Lights is a program that we open up both a school-based and community center-based programs from 5 p.m. to 9 p.m. on Saturdays. It's a partnership that we have with NYPD where we open up safe space because we've noticed and we've been tracking, unsafe communities, that are on the high levels of shooting and gun violence. So the more we can open up space in those communities to have young people in the height of those time periods where we see that young people need to have activities, the better it is for the community, the better it is for to keep the young people safe. So it's a safe space where we have our providers that do programming, keep young people engaged, and create opportunities for young people to stay safe.
Great. Is there any specific sports that are being offered in these programs?
Variety of different sports. You can go there and you can play basketball, you can play volleyball, you can do some art and crafts. There's teen summits that happen there. So a variety of different things that are happening across the board in Saturday Night Lights. It's one of the better programs. We have about 130 plus sites across the city. And again, we have some really good providers that are running the sites, and then they get an opportunity to engage with NYPD. We have police officers there that actually work with the kids, who do activities with the kids as well. So I think it's for the community, it's a win-win.
I would like to go. I'd like to discuss a bit more about some of DYCD's marquee programs, specifically the Runaway Homeless Youth Program, SYEP, and Summer Rising. Could you go into detail about that?
Yeah, some of our, we call them blue chip programs. I mean, they really, really invest in the community. Let's talk about RHY. So runaway homeless youth, we have about 813 beds. We know that there's a population out there that are in need of services. We have both drop-in centers where a young person can go, get food, take a shower, get clothes, get fed, and that drop-in center will help to get a young person placed in a residential bed. So that program is unique because we create a welcoming environment, and I think we do an excellent job of working with our providers to make sure that young people are serviced and that they receive the mental health and the counseling that is needed. The program also involves what we call housing navigators, right? So we want to make sure that it's not just a temporary situation for the young person in terms of their housing, that we create permanent opportunities where these housing navigators in those programs actually work to use vouchers to place young people in permanent housing. So it's a small program. We're not as big as Department of Homeless Services, but it's a very, very targeted population that we deal with. Summer youth employment, what can I say about that? 100,000 young people, 6 weeks throughout the summer, working in Microsoft, working in city agencies, just really gaining the career exposure that they need in order to succeed. Shout out to our mayor because he took it from 75,000 to 100,000 when he took office. And he'll make sure that we added financial literacy, which is very important. Right now, our young people think that financial literacy, and not just young people, I'm not going to pick on them. Our older, they think
Right.
Cash App and Zelle is financial literacy, and it actually isn't. The program teaches you how to open a bank account, have you have direct deposit, tell you how to manage your money. Those are the basic skills that you're going to need moving forward. So financial literacy is extremely important. You'd be surprised how many young people don't realize exactly that they need a bank account, both savings and also checking, and
Absolutely.
to explain that in the fees. So, summer youth employment is one of our better programs. It's been around. I was in summer youth employment. I was working at a daycare center in River Park Towers in the Bronx. Okay, so shout out to River Park Towers. Definitely one of those programs that you can never talk too much about.
How would you say some of these programs, like, how do they fit into the priorities of Mayor Adams and the administration?
So the mayor is very, very clear and he's very focused. He wants us to take careers and make sure that young people are exposed to them, and that's why we have programs in SYEP like a middle school career exploration. We have programs that help undocumented adults. We have programs that deal with literacy. We have programs that deal with gun violence. We have mental health and trauma services that are available as well. So the mayor is very clear. We did a town hall, 6 of them, and a year and a half ago, and the highest level of gun violence communities. And the young people had an opportunity to engage the leadership, the mayor, the first deputy mayor, and myself included. And we asked them to just speak on exactly what's happening in the community, what are their thoughts. And there's 2 things that the young people were able to speak about, and it's resonated in the Bronx and Brooklyn. They all said the same thing. The first thing was their mental health. They wanted mental health services. So that was number one. The second one was police relations. They want to be able to understand and be able to work with the police to better their community. So I thought that was just phenomenal. So we decided to take it back to DYCD and build a platform so that young people can have a voice and we can craft policy around mental health and trauma and also police relations.
That's super important to have right now, especially mental health and a lot of the mental health crisis going on like in the country as a whole. So I feel like, yeah, it's very important for that to be focused on right now.
A person's mental health is one of the most important things to deal with their stress and their anxiety. If you don't have someone you're talking to, if you don't have services, then you're at risk of so many different illnesses that can happen, and especially post-pandemic,
Right. Absolutely.
It's very much important, very key. It's also generational too, and that's one of the things that people who are more my age need to understand, because when I was growing up, my dad, when I complained about this or that or didn't want to go to school or whatever, my dad would take me out on the porch and say, give me 25 push-ups and 25 jumping jacks.
Wow.
And then once I finished, he said, okay, go to school. All right, so that was a way of that. And then not only that, I wasn't supposed to cry or express myself or something like that. And again, that was generational because we were taught to mask our emotions and our feelings, right, and things of that nature. So when I became a father, and as my son and my daughter became teenagers, I had to learn a different way of listening and listen to them. And my daughter was in a situation where she was going to this really good school, Catholic school in the Bronx, and it was one of those programs that if she graduated, she had scholarship opportunities, etc. And she didn't like it, and she would write me notes and say, "I hate this school. I want to get out of this school." But me not listening, I just thought about it as being best for her because, again, scholarship opportunities,
right,
et cetera. Until she wrote me that one note and just basically just said, hey, you know what? I'm not going to make it. If I continue in this school, I'm not going to make it. And I had to pay attention to that. And she transferred, and we transferred her out of the school where she went to LaGuardia High School in the Bronx. And
Okay.
Yeah, she did very, very well. I think the Catholic school model was just too rigid for her. It was too demanding for her. She wasn't making any friends. She was isolated. I think you have to pay attention to those signs, those triggers. And it took me a minute to realize that I had to meet her where she's at. And then not only meet her where I had, but don't be the dad who thinks I can fix everything, because
right.
dads think that's too. That's one of the things that we need to get over, but help her reach whatever's going to make her happy. And that made her happy, And the same thing with my son. I had the same experience. I wanted my son to go away. I went away to college. I wanted him to go away, so I pushed him into going away, and he went to Southern Connecticut University, and I was like, yeah, you can go on campus, you can make friends, you can do this, you can play sports, et cetera, et cetera. And he did horrible. And one day I got a call from the counselors saying that, you need to come get your son because he's just not doing well in school, all right, just mentally. And I had to go up there and pick him up and take him back home. But I had to understand at that point that because it was for me, doesn't mean it was good for him.
Right.
And that his success was what he defines it as, And once I learned how to listen and pay attention to that, he was able to thrive, and he's doing absolutely phenomenal now. Both him.
That's
and
amazing.
daughter. Yeah, but it took a minute to get there. Again, because I was taught a different way. Push, go through. Pray your stress away. It's not the same for this generation.
Yeah. But I feel like that's the first step, just listening and just being there for your child. Like if you want to break this cycle of generational trauma, you have to take that first step and try to listen, understand your child, because there's two different generations kind of conflicting with each other, and you have to find a way to work around that. So
and it works both ways,
right?
And I think if we work and we meet each other at a point where we know what's in your best interest. I think both the young adult and the parent would find a sweet spot where we can resolve most things. Other things that, we're going to have to work at. But you're right, listening and then acting on that is very, very important, because kids, young adults, they look at your actions, not just your words.
Right. For sure. Now I would like to move on to speaking about, so I know DYCD has accomplished a lot.
Oh, yeah.
It's a lot. And, as we're getting close to the end of 2024, is there any big accomplishments of this year that you've been proud of?
Yes, absolutely. One of the major accomplishments that we literally just landed is opening up a new community center in Kew Gardens, Queens. And what makes this amazing for us is that it'll be our first building. That means it's not connected to a housing development. It's not a school-based program. It's a single 2-3-story building that we're going to be able to run programs at.
Wow. Yeah.
It is so cool. And it's one part of the community-based jail initiative. We'll be able to really be in the communities and help the communities out. Other programs that we did that was great was Summer Night Lights, where we have a partnership with the Yankees, and it was really good. I know you were out there.
The New York Knicks, I think, as well.
The
Yeah.
New York Knicks.
Right.
But the shout out to the Yankees, because we were able to have a softball league in the old Yankee Stadium. The majority of the players were women.
Really?
Oh, yeah. 56%, I believe, of the players was women. And the championship game was held at Yankee Stadium. And that was
That's incredible.
wow. Yeah. That was incredible, So, yeah, we do have partnership with the Yankees, the Mets. It was cool, it's part of our Saturday Night Lights. But, man, kids playing at Yankee Stadium. In the evening, that was one of the highlights of the summer. And, of course, our Step It Up program, our dance program at the Apollo. That was amazing, So if you missed it this summer, you better pay attention next summer.
Next year,
because
yeah.
we come in harder. Every year we come harder.
Can't wait. Moving on to bigger and better things, for sure, definitely. Is there any other accomplishments you're proud of?
Yeah, so we're doing a lot of workforce programs intentionally at Rikers Island. Yeah, where we're building out a pathway so that those who are in our programs that get released from Yonkers, that they have access to a workforce program. Like day one, they could walk into a program and get the credentialing and get paid. And I think that's going to solve a lot of our problems in terms of violence and being repeat offenders. So I'm really excited about that program as well.
And is there anything you're looking forward to with DYCD next year?
So a lot of the goals are really set by the mayor, and I'm excited to see what he's going to roll out. Again, one of the challenges he put forth for us is to build out a international student exchange program where we're sending young people to different countries. And we're also working with our providers to get those young people's passports. The mayor is very, very clear. We sent some young people over to Ghana for a week. It was one of the best things that we did. We're working with the Mayor's Office of International Affairs in their Junior Ambassadors program. We're working with NYPD on their Explorers program. And then what we're doing is we're really combining all of those forces to send young people over to have that international experience.
I'm curious, what is the Explorers program about?
So the Explorers program is that young people actually work and they get a stipend with NYPD to learn how law enforcement actually work. So it's a career exploration type program with NYPD.
Moving on from programs and accomplishments, I want to bring the question to you about the podcast itself. So starting this podcast has been one of your main priorities. Could you tell us a bit why it is?
Well, Next Gen, it speaks for itself, right? It's very important in my tenure here that we hear from our young people. And we have an amazing group of interns that have their own voice.
By the kids, for the kids.
Yeah, but they're more than kids, though. They have their amazing voice. They're real in this space.
Exactly.
And I want to hear from them, and I want them to lead the conversation because I don't want to be the one dictating policy. I don't want to be the one dictating conversation. I don't want to be the one dictating topic. I want them to have their own voice and their own platform. So that's the whole point. I met these dynamic young people, and I have a really good rapport with them. They're cool. I hope they think I'm cool. But
I hope so.
they're very real, and they're not afraid, and they're unapologetic, and they will speak their mind, and I want to hear it. And I think that the agency should hear it, and the people outside should hear it as well.
Absolutely. And the interns will be on our next episode, so stay tuned for that.
Yeah, you heard them, introduce themselves.
Yeah.
So
Well, we'll get to hear more in the next episode, so stay tuned. Do you have any experience being on podcasts? Do you listen to podcasts?
my daughter started her own podcast.
Really?
Yes, she did. About 2 years ago, pre-pandemic, she started her own podcast, and I thought it was really, really good. Some of the topics, she pre-warned me that I shouldn't listen to, okay? So I didn't listen to it, okay? Because she was talking about dating and, sex and all that other stuff, and us dads, we don't get down like that. We don't want to hear that. Okay, so I didn't listen to it, but though the other ones she did allow me to listen to, so I thought it was an excellent way of being able to have a voice. But I have not. This is my first experience with the podcast, but I knew that if we grow it and we talk about subject matters that are important to young people, I think we can help a lot of people.
That's great. That's great. Do you listen to any podcasts?
I do.
What's your favorite podcast that you like to listen to in the morning, on your way to work, or like in the house? Like, any one specifically, or?
So, I do like Shannon Sharp's podcast that he has. I think he's really good in that space. So he has a really good podcast.
Okay, I've seen some of those. The one with Cat Williams and everything.
Cat Williams is one of the funniest ones.
It was.
So I thought
there's a lot of good ones. Yeah.
Angie Martinez has a really good podcast.
Angela Yee, I believe.
Angela Yee.
Yeah, there we go.
Angela Yee. Yeah,
Angela
she's pretty
Yee.
good. She has her own podcast.
Okay.
So, yeah, it was good.
Nice. And in relation to the DYCD Next Gen podcast, what do you hope listeners get out of it?
So, I think we have to build our audience, right? So it's going to be required for us to work together with our young people to make sure that other young people are listening and that adults are listening as well. And I think that if we can have a platform where everybody's listening,
Right.
everybody's sharing their thoughts, I think it would be successful. So I'm just looking for nice, very good, intentional conversations. And to do it in a safe way, in a safe space. No judgment.
Well said. I think that's all the time we have here for today. So I just want to say thank you once again to Commissioner Howard for helping us kick this off. And for more information on DYCD, check out nyc.gov/DYCD, or be sure to follow us on Instagram, Facebook, X, YouTube, and LinkedIn. Join us again next month for another episode of DYCD Next Gen. I'm Ryan Cooks, and once again, thank you, Commissioner Howard.
You're very
for
welcome.
joining.
Thank you. It was really good, and you're very good at this.
Thank you so much.